What's up, guys? It's the THP Strength Podcast. We have 4 athletes here who I coach. Go ahead, introduce yourselves, and tell me what your vertical is.
My name's Donovan, and my vertical is probably higher than yours.
My name's Isaiah, and my vertical is 50.5.
My name is Dom, and mine is probably around 48.
My name is Josh, and my vertical is unofficially 44 inches.
All right, so the prompt for today is going to be, what is your single best session? Maybe what dunks you hit, how high you were jumping on the day, if you had to guess. And what do you think led to that session? Let's start with Isaiah. Actually, let's start with Isaiah.
I think my best session ever was Dunk Camp Show 2022 in terms of jump height. And I think what led to it being my best session ever was strength levels were at an all-time high. I had an insane amount of adrenaline, an insane amount of confidence because I had tested above 50 for the first time ever.
You trained super well leading into it. You're healthy.
Yeah, it was probably 6 months of extremely high-quality training, no injuries during that period of time. My sessions were mainly playing basketball, actually. So I was probably jumping max effort like 10 to 15 times per week, playing 1 to 3 games around there. So I stayed healthy because of that. There was no temptation to have a dunk session because I lived in 29 Palms. A problem when I lived in Orlando is everybody would invite me to go play basketball or to go dunk, but all I could do was train, and that was it. And specifically the lifts that really went up like crazy during that period of time were my deep back squat. I hit 405 for the first time during that period of time, weighing around 180. I hit, what was my deadlift? 480, I believe, on deadlift. Power clean, I hit 295 for the first time. And leading up to that camp, I think the 4 sessions leading up to it, I was hitting 0.96 flight times, 0.97 flight times for my first time ever. My first time looking inside of a 10-foot hoop. And it was just every single week was like that. So I had.
When do you think the fittest you've ever been was?
The absolute fittest?
Yeah.
So that's one period of time. I think I was my absolute fittest. I think, honestly, this last year, when I went to All-Star Weekend and all the sessions leading up to it, I might have maybe been fitter. That was 2 or 3 months straight of jumping in the 50-inch vertical range-ish.
The biggest difference being that you were healthier, you had less history of injuries in 2022 versus that period of time. This past winter.
Even this period of time, I was actually really healthy because during that period of time in 2022, I was dealing with my TFL a lot. It hadn't torn yet, so that wasn't a fear that I was jumping with. But earlier this year, I was actually in a really good spot in terms of health, and I think it's because of a big factor I think is the belt squat. I was able to just push really intensely in the weight room without worrying about my back. We did a bunch of highly advanced training, overload eccentrics, overcoming ISOs. My PFP did mess up a little bit, but aside from that, my tendons were in a very good spot. And there's been multiple periods of time where I've been at that level. 2022 around dunk camp, later that year when I started traveling all around the world and doing contests. Last year leading up to dunk camp, that was some of my fittest. So there's been maybe 3 or 4 2-month spans where I'm jumping 50 to 51 around there.
Yeah, I think you're a better product than you've ever been now, and this is really what the goal of the next probably 6 to 8 weeks is just getting you super healthy so you can let that shine through, because I said this earlier today, but we haven't had a period like that. All right, so let's go, Josh. What is a single best session, period of jumping, whatever instance that sticks out in your head, and what did you do leading up to that?
My best jumping day, best session ever was 2 months ago when I was here, actually. We went to Orlando. I hit my head on the rim. There's some controversy on what that height was because it lowered throughout the session. But
can you hold it a little closer?
That's the highest I've ever jumped in my life. Whether the rim was 9'9" or 9'11", still I've never done that before. Hit a lot of good dunks. But leading up to that, I not PR'd it. Technically I did PR it because I weighed 20 pounds less. Just below parallel squat, 405. At 190 body weight instead of 210. So I'd say that contributed a lot. Also leading up to that, I cleansed myself of alcoholic beverages and I got super lean. So I think...
Did you drink before that?
Yeah. Or training, what do you mean?
Did you drink alcoholic... Did you drink alcoholic beverages leading up to that point in your life and then you stopped?
I stopped and December, jumped super. Stopped in December 24, and I jumped the highest I've ever jumped in my life, March 25.
You know what's crazy about that is that's what happened to Austin. Like almost like the exact same thing, like leading up to that same session.
It's funny how that works, but that's some anecdotal
Experience.
I've had.
All right.
Power clean was high too. It wasn't 300 like I just did.
Is that the fittest you've been, you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Dom.
I'm the leanest until
Until
these
now.
next couple
Until this
months.
past week.
I got super lean.
Dom, you're up.
All right. So, most memorable?
Most memorable. Yeah, most memorable.
I would say the year of 2022. The two main sessions that stick out to me was dunk camp. That's when I won the vert contest, or the vert at 46.5. Then I also hit my first behind the back in East Bay. Not my first East Bay, but I also hit East Bay. And that was my first main show because I was in the pre-show for the dunk camp show. And then that opened my eyes to like I could actually do this pro dunking thing. And then a couple months after dunk camp, I had a dunkademic session with Tyler Curry and Ty 2.0. And that's when I hit like 10 new dunks. And that's also when I created the snake dunk. That was
So what do
crazy.
you think? When was the fittest? Do you think you were the fittest prior to testing super well at dunk camp, or when do you think you were the fittest you've ever been?
Honestly, I would say this year I'm the most fit. Back then, I just had no pain, so I just kept jumping a lot. And also low rimming helped. That's probably why I hit the 10 new dunks. But now I'm more focused on being healthy and being stronger and fit.
What are you pointing at, Josh? The weight room. All right. Donovan, Van Hawkins, most memorable session.
Random session with Billy and him.
What happened? What did you do?
That was when I hit my original highest flight time for the first time. And then, that was also the fittest I've ever been.
Donovan, what happened in the previous 6 months or 8 months prior to that?
I did the training and
How were you jumping during that period of time?
not well.
I remember hearing about this.
Probably like 44 inches. So,
How do you
Yeah.
think that makes Josh feel?
sorry, Josh.
It's absolutely like shit.
So what
Yeah.
did your numbers in the weight room do during that period of time?
Actually, nothing. But after those sessions, they went up.
So your
Yes.
squat was relatively the same throughout that period of time.
So-
You were just building up a ton of training volume,
Yeah,
but not really doing anything that was drastically different.
correct.
Jumping, what were you jumping like before, you think, prior to that? Like
Oh, man.
46?
46, yeah.
And then after that, your flight times, because I have flight times of like 0.93-ish, I think, 0.94 maybe. And then afterwards, we've seen 0.98 out of you, 0.99, I don't even know.
0.967 and
0.967.
0.997.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
0.967 was your original.
The one I hit
highest
with
one.
him. And then just recently,
Think about the difference of how I jump when I'm getting like 0.93 to 0.96 or 0.94 to 0.97. That's a totally different jump day. And then think about how he went from 0.967 to 0.997. Like that's cracked, bro.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you guys for watching. I think we see a thread of commonalities here, similarities. One, the fitter you get, the higher the likelihood you're going to jump high. The more injured you are, the more careful you have to be, and the less likely you are. So there's this trend of being super healthy and super fit, and then obviously being patient and letting those things line up so that your best jumping days can occur. So where are we at to finish this off? Let's rate 1 to 10 your health and your fitness level right now, starting with Donovan. Oh, I lied. I can answer this. He's got a mouthful of breakfast
say?
food in his mouth.
my health
If
and
you had to
fitness
rate
level?
your health and your fitness level right now.
Wow. My health, probably not the best because I pulled
Mostly-
my quad.
Okay.
And then, well, actually, pulled my quad probably like 3 times. And then my fitness, not the best because I've been on the John Evans special for 8 weeks.
But what happens with him, as you guys saw, is he needs a lot of time to unload. So that's partially why. He's got a lot of events this summer. The quad happened after testing the best he's ever tested, which is very common as well. You'll see that as a common thread in long-term performance improvements. Isaiah, go ahead. Health, where are you at, 1 to 10?
I would rate it in 8,
Fitness.
9.5.
Oh, baby. All right, Dom.
I don't know about jumping though. We'll see. The data's indicating good jump day.
I would say my health is probably around 8. Then my fitness, I'll say 8.5.
I think your fitness is better than that. Yeah, I think you're fitter than I've ever seen you. After seeing you here, I think you're fitter than you've ever been, actually.
Okay.
But you don't have a lot of training fatigue at the moment, so I think it's only gonna go up.
Yeah.
You're in a good spot, Josh.
Health, I'd say I'm pretty close to being 10, but had some slight knee pain warming up. The other day, but fitness, not where I want to be, but where I am now, probably 9.
9.
Considering I PR'd some things in the last month or two.
I'd agree with that.
So.
Well, thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys tomorrow. Ciao.